This is the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, O Lord. Once while Jesus was standing beside the lake of Gennesaret, and the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he saw two boats there at the shore of the lake. The fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Jesus got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little way from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we have worked all night long, but have caught nothing. Yet if you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done this, they caught so many fish that their nets were beginning to break. So they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats, so that they began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." For he and all who were with him were amazed at the catch of fish that they had taken. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on you will be catching people." When they had brought their boats to shore, they left everything and followed him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
The first thing you should know is that I'm not a very good fisherman. I'm just saying that up front because whenever a story about Jesus among some fishermen comes up, I feel like there's a certain pressure on the pastor to tell some sort of good fishing story, but I don't really have any good fishing stories. I can't even remember the last time I went fishing. The last time I even touched a fishing pole was a few years ago. I was with my father-in-law. He is a very good fisherman. He goes fishing all the time. He does fly fishing and all those sorts of things. He could tell you the spots to go to in the North Carolina mountains to find the best fish. So I was with my father-in-law and our boys, and we were blueberry picking, actually. We were at Thomas Cleckley's property over off of Midway Road picking some blueberries, and there's a little pond there, and my father-in-law saw it. And he's always got a fishing pole in the back of his car, just in case, you know. And so he got his pole out of the car, and he was letting my boys practice casting off the little dock that's there. And then he asked me if I wanted to take a turn, and not wanting to look like the uncool dad, I took a cast. And the line landed in the weeds. And the hook got wrapped around a branch, and my father-in-law had to wade out into the muck and get it. So like I said, I'm not a very good fisherman. How about you? Or how about the disciples in this story? The ones mentioned here in the Gospel of Luke. Simon, Peter, James, the rest of them, were they good fishermen? Well, you'd think the answer would be yes, but then in this story, on this occasion at least, they had worked all night and caught nothing. And so they were not having a good time fishing at all. But that's where Jesus enters this scene, enters their story, in their frustration and futility. When they were ready to give up, Jesus shows up and says, "Simon, put out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." Now, there's something amazing about this story if you think about it. Of course, it's amazing that Jesus comes, that Jesus teaches, that Jesus does this miracle of the great catch. But beyond that, It's amazing that this story is a story about the call of disciples. Nothing in this encounter between Jesus and the fishermen would lead us to believe that this is an exceptional group of candidates for the job of disciple. The vocation they have as fishermen, they are not doing successfully. When Jesus helps them bring in a huge catch of fish, all Peter can blurt out in response is, "Go away, I'm a sinful man." And the rest just stand around in amazement. And yet when Jesus looks at them, what he sees is his first disciples. Do not be afraid. From now on, you will be catching people. And they follow him. You see, Jesus leads with grace. That's his opening move. Grace. Grace means getting more than we deserve. Sometimes that grace takes the shape of love or healing or understanding. But here, among these first disciples, grace took the shape of an invitation. An invitation they had not earned in any sort of way, but a gracious invitation to follow, to be a disciple. Jesus extends this gracious invitation to all of us, don't you think? Jesus extends this invitation to us however unqualified we may be. Are you a very bad fisherman? You are in good company. And if you are just the sort that Jesus invites to follow him as a disciple. Are you a sinful person who just wants Jesus to go away? You are just the sort that Jesus invites to follow as his disciple. Do you feel unexceptional, unsuccessful, unprepared? Bingo. Jesus is speaking to you, saying, from now on, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I think our scouts know something about that, don't you? About being, what would we call it? A scout is loyal, trustworthy. That's your part? Stop! There it is. Brave. Brave. Do not be afraid. Jesus says, from now on you will be catching people. Which I think just means something like the person who you are is just the sort that I desire to change the world. This is the grace of Jesus. It's a grace that invites us in, and a grace that sends us out. So be brave. There's this song we sing sometimes when we're up at our church camp in North Carolina. And the words go, "Be bold." And the audience will shout back, "Be bold." Here, try it out. "Be bold."
Be bold.
And then the words say, "Be brave." And they shout back again,
Be brave.
"For the Lord your God is with you. Do not be afraid, be not ashamed. Walk in faith and victory, for the Lord your God is with thee." Be bold. Be brave. That's the song for those who, like Peter and the rest, are sinful and unworthy and unqualified, and yet are called to do great things in the Lord. Be bold. Be brave. That's our song too. Yours and mine. Unexceptional as we may be, but called this day and always by God to do exceptional things. Amen.